Hello. Today we're going to work with order of operations review. Remember, when we are evaluating expressions, we only use one set of rules so that everyone arrives at the same correct answer. The rule system is called order of operations. These rules are based on doing the most powerful operations first, which would be exponents. Then the less powerful ones, multiplication and division, going from left to right. And finally, the least powerful ones last, addition and subtraction, going from left to right. Grouping symbols like the parentheses tell us to evaluate whatever is inside of them before moving on. You can remember the order of operations with the acronym PEMDAS. This is something you've probably heard before. The P stands for please, excuse my dear Aunt Sally. P stands for parentheses. So the first thing we would do is to look to see if there's anything in any type of grouping order. And it could be parentheses, it could be brackets, braces, any of these grouping symbols would be under the P. Then we would have to do exponents, multiplication, and division. And these two, you work what's left to right. So if division comes before multiplication, then you would divide first. And then Aunt Sally stands for addition and subtraction. And again, these two work left to right. And if subtraction were to come before addition, you would subtract first, not add. We want to work our way across the expression from the left to the right. Expressions with only addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Multiplication and division are evaluated first because they are more powerful than the addition and subtraction. Again, we need to make sure that when we're working through our sections that we go left to right. Find the value of each numerical expression. Follow the order of operations when finding each value. So when I'm looking at this, I have 16 minus 12 divided by 2 plus 4. And the most powerful operation here is this division right here. So we are actually going to do this first. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then everything else comes down. There's no more addition, multiplication or division, so we're just going to have subtraction and addition. And remember, we're working left to right, so we're going to do this one first. 16 minus 6 is 10. Bring down my plus 4. And then we have 10 plus 4, and that's 14. Sometimes this is called pizza math, because as you're working down, it creates a wedge. So it's like a slice of pizza. On this one, we have 196 times 10 minus 26. The most powerful operation in this grouping is multiplication. So we're going to take 196 times 10 first. So if we take these two, I get 1,960. And then I'm going to bring down my minus 26. Now we're going to take 1,960 and we're going to subtract 26 from that. We would get 1,934. And so this would be my answer to this expression. Many times you won't see this equal sign on the expression because an expression is not an equation. If you see one at the end, they just want you to simplify it. On this one, it's a little more involved. There's more steps to it. We have 100 times 2 divided by 40 minus 16 divided by 4. And remember, we're going to do the most powerful operations first, working left to right. And so when I see these, I have 100 times 10, or times 2, and then I have divided by 40, and then over here I have 16 divided by 4, which is also a powerful operation. So working left to right, I'm going to do this one first. So 100 times 2 is 200. I'm going to bring everything else down. Still working left to right, I have division, also a powerful operation. So I'm going to have 200 divided by 40, and that's going to give me 5. and then bring everything else down. Subtraction is not a powerful one when you're comparing it to division. So our next section that we're going to do is this one. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. And so we're going to have 5 minus 4, which is 1. So this expression simplified is 1. Sometimes we have expressions with 4 operations and exponents. And the thing to remember about exponents, when you have an exponent, this exponent is telling you how many times the base, which is the a, is being multiplied. So a squared is the same thing as a times a. There are 2 a's being multiplied. If I had z to the 3rd power, I would have 1, 2, 3 z's being multiplied. So if exponents are present in the expression, they are evaluated before any multiplication or division. So let's take a look at our first sample problem. We have 56 minus 12 squared divided by 6 plus 4. And I see this exponent right here. So that tells me I'm going to do this first. So it's 12 squared. 12 times 12 is 144. So we're going to bring everything else down. So after exponents, we have multiplication or division working left to right. So I have subtraction, division, and addition. So I'm going to do this one next. So I'm going to take 144 and I'm going to divide it by 6, and that gives me 24. And bring everything else down. So if I take 56 and I subtract 24 from it, I get 32. Bring down the plus 4. 32 plus 4 is 36. So my answer, or my simplification of this expression, is 36. Here's our next example. We have 13 squared times 10 minus 15 squared divided by 25. And you see that there are 2 exponents here. So we have 13 squared and we have 15 squared. And if I square 13, I get 169. 13 times 13, 169. And if I square 15, I can go ahead and do that one at the same time, I get 225. So times 10 minus 225 divided by 25. Okay, so I've gotten rid of both of these exponents. So now I'm ready to solve working left to right. The next powerful operation would be multiply or divide. And looking at it left to right, I have this multiplication first. So I can take 169 times 10 and I get 1,690. Bring everything else down. Next I would divide by 25. So I'm going to take 225 and I'm going to divide it by 25. And that gives me 9. So I'm going to bring down everything else. And 1,690 minus 9 gives me 1,681. So there it is simplified. Our next example is working with 125 plus 210 divided by 36 minus 4 squared times 6. There's a lot going on in this one. So the first thing we're going to do is exponents. So we're going to solve this one first. So 4 times 4 is 16. And then I'm going to break everything else down. Okay, no more exponents. So next we're going to divide. So we're going to divide these two. We're going to take 216 and we are going to divide it by 36. And that is going to give us 6. Bring everything else down. Then I see I have this multiplication here, so I'm going to do this one next. So I've got 16 times 6, and that's going to give us 96. And bring everything else down. Okay, so now I have no more multiplication, no more division. Now all that's left is addition and subtraction. And remember, we're going to work our way to the right, so we're going to do 125 plus 6. So 125 plus 6 gives us 131. Bring down the minus 96, and that is going to give us 35. Okay, these are going to be examples with grouping symbols. Most common is parentheses, but we do have brackets and braces. What grouping symbols do is they tell us in certain circumstances or scenarios that we need to do things outside the usual order. And so it's saying focus here first. It's basically what it's saying. Operations inside grouping symbols are always evaluated first before exponents and operations. And while inside the parentheses, it also follows the order of operations. So if you have multiplication, division, adding and subtracting, and even exponents within that grouping symbol, you'll follow those order of operations symbols inside to solve for what's inside the grouping symbol. And then you go, once you get rid of that, then you go back to the order of operations and follow that. So let's go ahead and practice these. On A, I have 6 times, inside parentheses, 12 plus 112. And so when I see these grouping symbols, these parentheses, this is telling me I'm going to do that first. And so 12 plus 112 gives me 124. And I'm going to bring down my 6 times while I'm at it. So now I've got 6 times 124, and that's going to give me 744. So 744. Okay. This is an example like what I was telling you, that there's going to be several operations possibly inside these grouping symbols, and that we're going to follow those order of operations rules just like we would if there was no parentheses. So we're going to focus on everything between here and here first. So we have 65 times 2 minus 32 divided by 4. And what I also see is I have multiplication and division separated by a subtraction sign. So what I can do, because it's separated by this subtraction sign, I can multiply these and divide these at the same time. So I'm going to take my 65 times 2, and that gives me 130. And I've got my 32 divided by 4, which we all know is 8. And I'm going to keep my parentheses because I haven't completed everything inside yet. And then I'm going to bring down my 296 and minus. So now I'm going to take my 130 and I'm going to subtract 8 from that. And then that gives me my 122. And because I have now simplified it all down to one answer inside the grouping symbol, I no longer need these grouping symbols. They are done. Okay, so I'm going to bring down my 296 and my subtraction. So now we have 296 minus 122, and that's going to give us 174. Remember, the only time you can do 2 operations at the same time or in the same level is if they are separated by a lower level operation, like addition or subtraction. Okay. Okay, here's another one. There's a lot going on inside this grouping symbol. So we have this grouping symbol right here. We have parentheses on this side, and we have parentheses on this side. So everything between here is what we're going to be working on. So using order of operations, I look to see, is there any exponents? No. Is there any multiplying and dividing? Yes, there's division here, multiplication here, and division here. So this is telling me that I'm going to work left to right across this equation, or this expression. And I'm going to take 625 and I'm going to divide it by 5 first, because it is all the way over on the left. And when I take 625 and divide it by 5, I get 125. I'm going to bring down my times 2, minus, here's a lesser operation, and here's a lesser operation, and then we have a powerful one, so we have 28 divided by 4, which is 7. And then I'm going to bring those grouping symbols down. Okay. Now, looking inside the parentheses, I still have this in multiplication. So I'm going to take 125 and I'm going to times it by 2, and that's going to give me my 250. Break everything else down inside those grouping symbols. And you'll notice each time I'm bringing this 2 times down, because you don't want to get so focused on what's inside the grouping symbol that you forget this. Okay, so don't forget the numbers on the outside as well. All right, no more multiplication and division, so now we're ready to add or subtract, working left or right, and I have subtraction and subtraction. So we're going to take the 250 and we're going to subtract 40 from it, and that's going to give us 210. And now I'm going to subtract 7, 203. I have now simplified everything in this grouping symbol all the way down to 203. So I no longer need that grouping symbol. And I'm going to take 2 times 203, and that's going to give me 406. And so there's my simplified solution to this expression. There are a couple of extra practice ones that you can work on, just the same as we did before. Even though it's inside parentheses, we do the exponents first. Then we do our multiply and divide, and then we do add and subtract, and then we bring it all together. And I'm going to let you do those on your own. If you have any questions, make sure you come ask. Thank you.